So, dear participants, thank you for joining us. Women of the world want and deserve an equal future. Okay. And to get us there, the world needs women at every table where decisions are being made. Today happens to be one of those days where we have Miss Sudha, Captain Sukhvinder, Preeti, and Prachika. And they all chose that the theme for the International Women's Day this year would be Women in Leadership Achieving an Equal Future in a COVID-19 World. This theme goes on to celebrate the tremendous efforts that women and girls around the world have put up in shaping a more equal future and recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, and highlights the gaps that remain. Women's full and effective participation and leadership in all areas of life drives progress for everyone, and we all would agree. Yet women are still underrepresented. Women are heads of state of government in 22 countries. And I would say that only 29% of national parliamentarians are women. At this rate of progress, gender equality, Captain Sukhinder, trust me, should take another 130 years. I wouldn't want you to wait though. Women are also at the forefront of the battle against COVID-19 as frontline workers, health sector workers, scientists, doctors, caregivers, and 11% less globally than their male counterparts. An analysis of the COVID-19 task teams from 87 countries found only 3.5% of them had gender parity. When women lead, we see positive results. Some of the most efficient and exemplary responses to the COVID-19 pandemic situation would be discussed today in some of the conversations that we would have. And women, especially young women, the ones that who are on the screen, are at the forefront of diverse and inclusive movements online and on the streets for social justice, climate change, and equality in all parts of the world. As the panel moderator, allow me to introduce you to 4 beautiful minds, all unique in their lives story, safely on this virtual platform. Captain Dr. Sukhvinder Kaur, she is the General Manager at OCS. Ms. Prachika Saxena, she is the Director of Human Resources at the Conrad, Pune. Ms. Sudha, she is the Regional Head Facilities Infosys at Chennai and Trivandrum. And Preeti is the Head of Strategic Partnerships, Work in Sync. In particular order, allow me to introduce to you Captain Dr. Sukhvinder Kaur. Sukhvinder, I guess you would do much more justice to your introduction than I could have chosen a few words to describe you. Over to you, ma'am.
Right. Thank you, Rohit, and good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to this webinar. So I would just like to say 4 things about me. I'm a pioneer, a lot of firsts in my life, both personal and professional. I'm a creator, I'm a nurturing leader, and I live by the motto, perform excellence through performance. So I would say that's the introduction I would like to give. Over to you, Rohit.
Thanks, Captain Dr. Sukhvinder. Hi, Prachika. Over to you.
Hi, everybody. As a young girl, I always wanted to join hotels. And my father, like every small town father, would say, hotels are not for girls from good families. I chose to challenge, and here I am. So basically, freedom of thought and expression and a desire for women empowerment are the 2 distinguishing features that make me an individual I am. Mao said, women make half the sky. And I say, anyone's belief in you, this belief in you is greater than your belief in yourself. Thank you.
Thanks, Prachika. Thank you so much. Ms. Sudha, over to you.
Good afternoon, all. Very happy to just join the session. Okay, I've just completed 22 decades plus in Infosys, and every day is a challenge. Here I just face that. Okay, the point here is whenever I just go around any of the session or any of the meetings with the government coordination, the question which I always get is, how do you handle this facilities and administration, which is a stereotype question that, okay, only men can do it. But practically, when I really just do this work, I'm so happy that, okay, I get every day is a challenge, and I'm very happy with that. Apart from the regular work, I just do coordinate with the CSR activities of Bangalore as well as Chennai. Very happy to just deal with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sudha. Preeti, over to you.
Hi everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Preeti and I head the strategy partnership at Move in Sync or Work in Sync, and a proud mother of a 17-year-old. And I am a person who loves to wear multiple hats. And being in startup ecosystem, I think I get the opportunity to do that on a daily basis. And also, I think it's an innate ability. Every woman can be a multitasker. So I think I'm somebody who's very comfortable doing that. And again, I'm quite a rebel, and I take challenges head on. And roof ceiling challenges are something that I take on head on. Over to you, Rohit.
Thanks, Preeti. Thank you so much. Much fanfare, with much elan, with much happiness. Allow me to throw my first question at the panelists. And this is with a sense of empathy towards all four of you. How have you been dealing with the post-pandemic burnout?
See, when I just divide this post-pandemic into 4 slots, the first session, of course, I was a little worried about, because being in facilities, I just felt that, okay, employees are all not coming. So it would really just last for 2 months, but never ever thought that, okay, it would just go for more than a year and still we are unable to just come back. Personally speaking, I use this time to learn, because I was in a position to just learn therapeutic yoga as well as therapeutic chanting, which I was not able to do it because all these things had to go in person and just learn. But because of all virtual mode, I could see that, okay, everything has come online, and I happily just made it a point that to just learn. So that really helped me just to go, because I'm more worried about the social infrastructure, because when the employees are not coming, there are multiple vendors who are who have lost the job, especially because they are in need of the people to just come for especially transport, travel and food court. So that really just worried me more than my own job. I would really see that, okay, these people are really just needing it. So I'm literally waiting for all the employees to come back so that it comes to the normalcy. I'm eagerly waiting for the normalcy to return.
Thank you, Sudha. Prachika, over to you. How have you been dealing with the post-pandemic burnout?
With, as everybody is aware, hospitality was one of the worst industries during pandemic, and a lot of people lost their jobs. I personally had to lay off a sizable chunk of my population. Those who were fortunate to hold on to their jobs had to undergo massive pay cuts, derailing their lives and their dreams. For a long while, I think I held myself responsible for not managing the scenario better. And then very consciously, it was emotionally very draining. Very consciously, I had to distance myself from the work that I was doing. I started attending more online trainings. I cooked, baked. I went for walks on my terrace. Basically, anything that reminded me of my individuality apart from the work that I was doing. And that, I think, helped keep my sanity on.
Thanks, Prachika. Hi, Preeti.
Hi.
How have you dealt with the post-pandemic burnout?
Sure. So I think, like everybody just said, that it was definitely a very challenging time for each one of us, and challenges can be very individualistic and realistic at the same time. I work from home and related silos and issues that were generic, and faced by everyone. The personal challenges that I faced and was important for me was to a strong check on my emotional and mental health, and I had to take some very deliberate, steps to clear my head and get rid of the fatigue of working from home and deal with the pandemic. And I think that by making it a habit to do walks and meditation. I even changed my work environment. I went to a couple of colleague spaces to pep up my spirits, and all of us, this is time to upskill ourselves, and all of us are like, trying to learn something new. As Prachika was saying, that we could be. I also, took a few online courses abreast of what's going on in my field. So I think that was my coping mechanism to deal with the burnout at the time of the pandemic, and it kind of goes on. So yeah.
Thanks, Preeti. Thank you so much.
Like I mentioned earlier, and probably it was not audible, is that I don't look at it as a burnout. I look at it as something that we were already always doing as women, wearing multiple hats and multitasking all the time. It's just that we had to shift our attitude a little bit. So doing housework while taking a Skype call on the headphones was like, doing double workout and work together. So not having a maid didn't make a difference. And here I would like to say I saw a lot of stories on LinkedIn by men in all strata of the corporate world, highlighting, today I cooked this and today I'm washing dishes and all of that. So with no offense intended, I would say that we women have always been doing it. It's now that the other gender is acknowledging it. Also, highlight the fact that there are a lot of women in my team and across the board that I see who are single parents, who are single women, who are the only earning members in the family, and they also survived the pandemic doing both. So there was no, so to say, equal sharing of unpaid work there. They were doing all the sharing by themselves. And that's where I would say burnout is just a word. It's purely the way you look at it. It's your attitude to it. It's just a job that's got to be done. Do it to the best of your ability. That's what I have to say.
Thank you, Dr. Sukhinder. Thank you so much. Participants, I also have a question for you, and this is more on, I'm sure that all of you have been in leadership positions. You deal with so much emotions around you. You have so many people reporting into you directly or indirectly. A question for you. How are you dealing with this while being in leadership positions? The pandemic has intensified challenges that women already faced in their workplaces. I know for sure that all of you had to manage a house, a home, and also had to take care of your workplaces. To add to that, there were some of your employees who were possibly going to facilities. There were some who were wanting to be at home, and there were some who were in between. There was so much of uncertainty. How did you deal with it in your leadership positions? Prachika, over to you, because hotels, I believe, is an industry which has been impacted the first, and I guess would recover the last. How did you go about dealing with it?
So I think, Rohit, first and foremost, like Preeti said, concentrating, it's a very simple two-pronged strategy that I'm following for myself, also for everybody else that I come in contact because of the role that I play, is concentrating on the emotional well-being of women. There were a lot of hats that women donned during the lockdown and putting their personal identities at the back seat. And this was very challenging for a lot of them because there was no scope or there was no escape from what they were already doing. So ensuring that now I work towards the emotional well-being. And second is assisting and absorbing women who are returning to work at uncompromised packages and with different creative ways to make life simpler for them. Life post-lockdown has been marred with a lot of challenges. Domestic helps in a lot of cases are not available. Crèche homes are no longer a trusted partner. Children are full-time at home. So there has to be a requirement to support these women who want to return to work, either because they lost their jobs or that they were working from home and now have been called to the offices back. The need of the hour, I think, is just to support unconditionally.
Thanks, Prachika. Sudha, over to you. How have you been dealing with it?
See, the thing is, we have, because we have almost 25,000 employees in Chennai alone. So we have received multiple complaints from employees, from women employees, saying that, okay, the first thing is, of course, the time what they take for completing the job, because the virtual mode, of course, has come first. I mean, none of us just really expect that everybody could work in the virtual mode at last. So what happens is, these employees really felt that, okay, number one, they're not being taken very seriously at home, because what exactly happens is, when we are at home, I mean, everybody thinks that, okay, you're at home, only you can take care of this, do this. So in both sides, one is a work pressure, On the other side, the pressure for the school, I mean, kids to just get it at the online. And at the same time, you need to cook and you need to do everything, especially when there is an intense lockdown. The maids, all those people have not turned up. So this was a real story. In fact, there are few women have just, of course, submitted their resignation also. So what we made from our point of view is we created more Samaritan group. Although Samaritan group is available, we trained most of them, and we just wanted to just make them to just give some kind of just training or whatever it is, how they really need to overcome the problem. So that really helped. Apart from this, what we have really made it is the importance of emotional well-being. Of course, that was in a very, very deep kind of situation which we have to give over. So we have arranged multiple sessions with respect to from the doctor's session, and people have also found it very difficult to sit in the chairs, which is like official infrastructure is different from at home. So we have just had the teleconsultation with physiotherapist, hospital tie-up. And there are some people that during the intense lockdown, the COVID affected patients at home. So because not many of the people have got multiple rooms, so they could really do. So what the company have made it a point is we've created a hotel tie-up as well as hospital tie-up, so that if something that where they don't need to get admitted in the hospital, they can really just get into it. So multiple welfare measures we brought in, so that at least our people will be in a position to just really pass through the situation in an easier way. Hopefully, I think as a company, we have just achieved it.
Thanks, Sudha. Thank you for this wonderful insight. Mr. Parekh, I'm told about the multiple diversity initiatives that come from you at OCS. Just one question about them. How do you conceptualize them?
So, Rohit, let me tell you, I have been in this business for almost 35 years now. And I would say it's all come with experience and working with various people in the industry. I have worked with IT companies like Geometric Software, Datamatics. I have worked, closely with the HR heads and with the CEOs. So I think whilst we understand the client requirements, I think this is where you put your feet in the client shoes. You really start working and understanding as per their needs, and then you start diversifying. So I think the need is it's all need based, and this is what I have taken an approach. So just to give you an example of the business scenario that we turn around. So 2021, we have really changed our focus into the sectors. So we have identified sectors like data center and warehousing. Yeah, so the need came in through because the data center there's a lot of use of internet and social media. So the data can be only stored in data centers, and then the online shopping. So I think this is where time and again we were always brainstorming, and this is how the diversity came in. And I think it's all it's time that has taught us what we should do. So that's all from me.
Thank you, Mr. Parekh. Thank you so much. I know for sure that the United States had its first women president, Miss Kamala Harris. Administration has had a lady. We know for sure that in COVID-19 management, the New Zealand Prime Minister, Miss Jacinda Ardern, has made records with the initiatives that she could think about and with the implementation of those initiatives that she could think about. So for all our participants, Sudha, Preeti, Prachika, and Captain Sukhwinder, what kind of a precedence does it leave on you? What lessons do you draw out of it, assuming that your organizations were to be the New Zealand of our world? Over to you, Sudha.
Women are extremely capable, but only thing is we do not understand their capability. We at times just underestimate ourselves. That's where something. But given a choice, okay, I'm sure that because the toughest job in any time is something babysitting as well as raising the kids is the toughest job. To me, I can understand. So when women are doing such a work in a very, very effective manner, then any people who can really get the job in, working in the system or working in the data, whatever it is, because point here is anything of the COVID, even we could just take it as saying that in Kerala, of course, I could see that the Shailaja teacher was the person who was just doing everything perfectly and it just came down. So anything and everything, we will be able to just really 100% handle this. There's one example I just to really tell you how women can really extremely just can handle the show. I just come across one housekeeping lady in my office. She was just limping in that day. Then I just asked her, what exactly is the problem? I just only thought that okay, she had some health issue. But I was shocked to hear that okay, she was undergoing the dialysis for 8 years. 8 years. And she is working here as well as at home. I mean, weekly twice she has to undergo the dialysis. She says that okay, from office, she goes to the hospital, stay back, does the dialysis, go home in the early morning because the night when it really takes, because she cannot afford to have it in the private hospitals. So what happens is she has to go to the government hospital and it will take more time. She says that okay, she gets up, go to home, cook everything and come back to office, and here also she does the housekeeping job. I'm just really feeling, I'm shattered in such a way that how it's possible for a woman, because it is a mindset that yes, I think anything is possible for women, and I'm sure that women in the next 3-4 years we could really reach. Now, I mean, you can just really quote 3-4 examples now. There will be multiple examples which you can quote, Rohit. Thank you.
Thanks. Prachika, over to you.
So Rohit reminds me of a very interesting incident. In the good old pre-COVID days, I happened to attend a convocation ceremony at a leading university. Gold medalists from all the programs were on the stage, and when they gathered for a group photo, very predictably, 90% of the winners were young girls. But when I looked at the first 2 rows, the scenario was completely reversed. This gap is something which I sincerely hope that the current global scenario will help plug. It will fill our future generations with renewed hope and unwavering faith in their own selves. Circling back to what Kamala Harris said on the opening ceremony, every little girl watching tonight sees this as a country of possibilities. And that, I think, is the change I would like to see.
Thanks, Prachika.
Okay, so what I wanted to say was that what we are seeing today on the global scenario in terms of women in leadership, not just in politics, but in economics and on the corporate front, is not one women that has overnight. It's a culmination of the hard work of women as well as men over the decades. And that's why this transformation is what we see. So the only word that comes to my mind is this year is a celebration of the tremendous efforts of all the women as well as the men to make this happen. Now, bringing it down to local level, OCS and my organization and my branch, at OCS, what I have seen and what we work towards is that the gender is just a tick box when you join the OCS family, when you are doing the joining formalities. Thereafter, every job that you want to do is purely and purely based on your merit and your capabilities. If you have the skills, you have the capabilities, there is no one who says that, no, this is for men and this is for women, unless certain roles which are specifically prescribed by the client side that we need only men. So we are that kind of gender neutral, so to say. So equality exists at the grassroots level. Now, as a leader, Pune branch typically for the last couple of years was led by women leadership. There was somebody before me who was also a woman, and I joined in, again, being a woman. So what I think we brought to the table, specifically in the pandemic situation, was the care and the empathy when we deal with tough situations. Although we do take tough calls, sometimes to, ask people to stay back home, sometimes downsizing, sometimes pay cuts or whatever. But when we deliver this decision to the people and actually implement these, the element of care and empathy that the woman leader gives makes the decision more agreeable, palatable to the other party, whether it's your staff or it's on the client side. And that's where I would say the women leadership has the edge. And then again, on the P&L side, when it's totally a number game in the boardroom, when the woman leadership is presenting those numbers, it gives a different perspective to it, and we are able to bring in the human element and bring more acceptance to the decisions that come out of those numbers. So that's my take on women in leadership and bringing it down to OCS and my branch level. So
Captain
over to you, Rohit.
Captain Sukhvinder, you have bounced back. To come back to all of you and your respective organizations, Prachika, my question to you, how is womenhood celebrated in your organization? I mean, the Hilton chain as a hotel chain, and then your respective hotel here in Pune.
Rohit, like Captain, so there's a drilling noise happening somewhere. Pardon me for that. Like Captain very rightly said, most of the organization, including Hilton, we are an equal opportunity employer, which in itself eliminates any biases that occur due to gender. We also run a very diverse and inclusive workforce where every single individual brings their unique personality to work and is respected for the same. Women in Leadership is a custom-made program running at Hilton for all the aspiring women leaders, where they have tailor-made career paths, dedicated mentors, immersive trainings, resulting in more holistic development for all of them. Additionally, we encourage all the women leaders to keep sharing their success stories with the proteges so that everybody can take a leaf out of their book and get inspired.
Thank you, Prachika. Ms. Sudha, how about celebration of womanhood at Infosys?
Here in Infosys, there is nothing very specifically just given to women. It is equally, women are treated equally. And some places we could see that, okay, yeah, there are 10 members, so we need a women participants, so we make 1%. It's not that case. But on the other hand, women are also being trained to reach that stage. So instead of making it a point that, okay, women can achieve it quickly, we just make it a point, all the women have to really, when they really come up, they have to just really work hard and just make it a point. That's number one. And number two, for the women, because we, as per the statistics, what we do is when the employees join, when the trainees period, we could see that 50% of women employees be there. But over a period of time, maybe 4 or 5 or 6 years, we could see that slowly it's just dropping down. So we analyzed why it is happening. Not only the marriage, the maternity. I mean, the thing is when the women just go for the maternity leave, and if any of them they come back in 6 months' time, I'm sure that they would be in a position to continue. So what we made a point is there are some people who just drop it because there is no social support or there is no family support, etc., etc. So what we made here is we just created one return to work app. And we meet them. We just really created in such a way, and we always advise them because I usually make them just to meet, saying that, okay, see, the choice of giving up is always available with us. Okay, anytime I can just lose this, I can just give up and just walk out. But how to hang on, how to make it work is a challenge. So that challenge, how they really just make it. So we also connect with nearby, crush facilities, as well as we also childcare center, which we are going to really bring it here. So we will really give them all, and for the first 2 years, we will really monitor because the work-life balance for them, because the small kid, of course, really need that time of the mother. So what we really do them is we will really monitor. We will see that if there are any choices which they really want to change for a time being, we will give them that kind of thing, so that at least we ensure that they continue their work. So that has really helped. And the safety part of the employees, especially women here, is in all these things we just really ensure. And the safe drop, the safe pickup for the women is, of course, when I say gender equality, for the women purpose, we will just give more attention to the safety of the women. Over to you.
Thank you. About how the ideas originate on his table, but if you could just educate us about a couple of ways in which womanhood is celebrated at OCS.
So I would say there are two elements to it. One, I've already spoken, and that is that we don't treat women differently. It's our way of looking at work and at people is very gender neutral. That is one aspect. The other aspect that I would like to bring out is the element of safety that we stress on. So while we say safe sites, safe work, safety of yourself, safety of your work, your equipment, your site, and your people, we especially stress on safety of our women at the workplace, whether it is at the client side or it is in the back office, and it is one of our core values, and we don't compromise on that. So when we are ensuring that our women get equal opportunity to choose what they want to do in OCS, and when we are giving them top priority in terms of giving them a safe environment to work, I think that in itself means that we celebrate the Women's Day or the womanhood or the women power in OCS on a daily basis as part of our culture. So apart from that, yeah, the once a year celebration of cakes, flowers, and balloons, yes, that happens on the 8th. But however, safe working and equal opportunity is a part of our culture at OCS.
Thanks, Dr. Sukhinder. Hi, Preeti. I did not forget about you. You have been on top of my mind, but the question comes to you the last. How is womenhood celebrated in your organization?
I'm happy to be answering the last because I think I'm going to take most of the time answering this one. So the Indian startup ecosystem, Rohit, has been very, very young and vibrant and with no legacy problems per se. And they have been the most forthcoming when it comes to creating solutions and creating policies when it comes to flexi timings, pick up and drops. And I think we heard directly from our client, Sudha, Infosys being a prestigious client, that how women's security and safety is of a paramount importance to them. And I'm very, very glad to be working with an organization which is not only cognizant to women equality and women's safety's point of view, but they have also come up with technical solutions that kind of enable other organizations to be able to keep their women employees safe. So through Move and Sync app of ours, where we have a safety command center, each trip which a woman is traveling alone is being monitored by us for all our clients, where we ensure that the woman in the car is safe with or without the escort. Anything can be flagged up in the system. We went ahead by creating awareness programs with all the organizations that we've been working with. Apart from that, we also came up with this new solution called Work in Sync, where we enable other organizations to be enforcing or to be bringing the flexibilities in work, both for men and women per se. And I think more than ever is this is the right time when we need the flexibilities of bringing people back when they are still dealing with the pandemic and we still have the fear in place. So I think I'm very, very blessed to be part of an organization which takes care of internal policies, culture, and the business solution that enables women's safety in a holistic manner. And I think I will, pass on the baton to Dipesh, our CEO, to speak more about that, how he has gone a step ahead in ensuring that women in general, are safe in our commute and corporates around us. Over to you, Dipesh.
Oh, thanks, Preeti. I think I've been enjoying the conversation. I think just for record, we also do some work. Men do some work as well. We're not that bad, but totally on a serious note, absolutely acknowledge the contribution, both personally and professionally, being done by the women workforce. Frankly, I think just to share some data around it, we ferry around 400,000, 4 lakh employees in the ITES sector in the country, and this was pre-COVID. Obviously, in the COVID world, most of the folks were working from home. So what I do as a CEO, I kind of closely monitor that how many employees are actually working from the office, something obviously which our business is directly dependent upon. What was very surprising is that when I just did the analysis, the data team showed me some data for February month. So what was very astonishing, Preeti, Sudha, Rohit, and everybody else, that in the return to office, while the country is very slowly returning to office, as per the data, only 15% of the workforce right now is working from the office and 85% of the workforce is working from home. But what was both surprising and inspiring is that women are returning to office faster than men. So I think we took this cut, various cuts we did. One of the cut was on the gender. And I think, needless to say, I think there, see, right now, I think because of vaccine, etc., people are mentally comfortable. But I think this data was true even 6 months back, when the fear of COVID was far higher than what it is today. So I think really hats off to that spirit of fighting it out and being there, Needless to say that. The other thing I think I just wanted to share with the panelists as well as the attendees is that, frankly, I think when I was seeing the workforce participation of women in the Indian labor force, I think we are at a fairly low level. It's around 20%. So women in the working population, 20% of them are actually employed in the workforce. Unfortunately, uh, the rest 80% in the working population have chosen or have decided not to work. And obviously, if you think are the biggest way in which a country's GDP can grow is where both the number of people who work increase. So I think that is a very significant contribution of the country and eventually the GDP to growth. One of the things which comes, some of the things which were mentioned, obviously may not be in our control, like some regional practices, some customs, women getting themselves educated for a longer time than men, obviously because of their choice. But I think what were two important things which I felt which can be done by a lot of people on this dais and otherwise in the corporates, is that one of them was, which I think both Sudha and Preeti mentioned, were around safety concerns of people when their whatever wife, sister, or somebody from their family works out, which I think, needless to say, is a fact, and especially women who are working during night times. So, and I think we've made a very small contribution in that by providing, as a work in sync solution, we provide kind of this safety net to make sure that safety is addressed. While we cannot ensure that nothing will happen, I think it's our level best to make sure that you are cognizant of the events which are taking place. And I do feel that that when somebody receives that their wife or their daughter has left the office and is on the way to the home and is using this cab from this company, this is the driver, I think it does give them a mental satisfaction. So that was one part which prevents women from entering the workforce. The second part, I think, which is also unfortunately the byproduct of COVID, is the flexibility of work. Obviously, a lot of the panelists mentioned that with responsibilities, especially after getting married and having kids, between managing a part of the family and home, I think you need flexibility of work. Unfortunately, one of the things in the pre-COVID world was the corporates world openness to flexibility of working from home was limited. While I know that in most of the bigger organizations, including ours, I think it was okay. But frankly, Indian corporates were not flexible. I think fairly, if you have to put together the statistics of just the IT BPO industry, I think it was around 15% was the average work from home statistics in a pre-COVID world, which was not very high. What has happened because of COVID and because of the openness of people to move towards a hybrid or a flexi work culture, I do think that even once the vaccine is out, given to people, COVID settles down, etc., this hybrid work will eventually become a byproduct of this. And I think one of the biggest beneficiaries, which I think should happen, is that a lot of women workforce can get added to the workforce, right? So I think that probably is going to get impacted and will have a significant contribution slowly but steadily towards the GDP of the country. And as Preeti was mentioning, while very small, but a contribution of our company is this new platform Work in Sync, which obviously enables this. Obviously, this is just for to make massive impact on the GDP. I think not only just the IT software and the tech industry, but I think the entire workforce and the service industry in the country needs to be kind of open with this concept of flexi work / hybrid work. So those were some of the points which I wanted to share with the panelists as well as attendees. But personally, very inspired with the stories all of you shared, and especially about that lady who was making sure that his family, even during the dialysis, kind of gets what they need. So thank you for letting me share the views.
Thank you, Dipesh. Thank you so much. We're getting close to the end of our time together. And this is for the panelists. If there's one thing you would like this audience to take away, and I give you 15 seconds to answer this. Over to you, Sudha. 15 seconds to answer. What should I take away when I log out of this show?
Respect the women force.
I shall. Preeti.
Rohit, I think both in professional and personal front, I try and be the perfect support machine. Yet I try and be the relevant person in my own accord. I think that's about what I'd like to pass on to the audiences.
Thank you. Prachika, over to you. One takeaway for me.
I think women supporting women. It has to be everyone sticking out together, watching each other's back, and moving as one unit.
Thank you. Captain Sukhvinder, one takeaway for me.
So from my side, the one takeaway would be that let's get out of this mindset of gender and equality and demand your place. If you have the capability, you have the merit, and you have the drive for it, just go for it and do it. The world is your stage. If you're ready for it, and if you have it in you, just do it. No one who can stop you. That's it.
Thank you, Dr. Sukhvinder. Thank you so much for facilitating this platform for all of us and our participants to exchange these ideas. Hi, audience. Thank you all for coming in. We really appreciate your interest in this very important issue on this important day, the 8th March, International Women's Day. I wish all the women in and around me and all of us a very happy International Women's Day. And may God offer us multiple such opportunities to interact. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you.